Welcome to the African Strata, where every layer tells a new story. Support the channel. Like, subscribe, and share for more real African stories.
They were never supposed to have electricity. No grid, no government plan, no wealthy donors. Just a dirt road village written off as too remote, too poor, too insignificant. And yet, today, every home there runs on solar energy. Lights at night. Phones fully charged. Fridges humming in kitchens built from clay. No wires connecting them to the national grid. No bills arriving at the end of the month. No blackout warnings. Just power. Consistent. Clean. Independent. Meanwhile, we in the developed world, surrounded by infrastructure, are bracing for outages, price spikes, and energy wars. So how did they do it? Not with billion-dollar technology, not with a rescue mission, but with something much more radical, the belief that they could stop waiting. Globally, over 700 million people still live without electricity. It's not just inconvenient, it's deadly. No lights in health clinics, no refrigeration for medicine, no fans in 40 degrees Celsius heat. And the usual solution? Build massive infrastructure, import expensive systems, draft long-term electrification plans that span decades, then fail to meet even half the targets. In the meantime, villages like this one stay in the dark, quite literally. Children fall behind in school. Mothers give birth by candlelight. Fires break out from kerosene lamps. Phones stay dead. Radios go silent. But here's the contradiction. In many of the sunniest places on Earth, energy poverty still reigns. Why? Because the model we keep exporting, centralized, top-down, corporate-driven, doesn't fit places where resilience matters more than scale. This village flipped that model. They stopped waiting for governments, donors, or experts to show up. They asked, what do we already have? What can we build ourselves? And that shift, from dependency to self-direction, is what truly lit the first light bulb. Let me ask you this. If a village with no grid can power itself sustainably, what exactly is the excuse for the rest of us? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you think the world should start learning from the overlooked instead of the overfunded, share this story. If you had met him a few years ago, you'd probably walk right past. A slim man in worn sandals, hands calloused from farming, pushing a cart of scrap metal down a dusty road. Nothing about Aruna Diabate looked like a revolutionary. But revolutions don't always wear lab coats. He wasn't a technician. He wasn't backed by funding. He was just tired. Tired of his kids sweating through sleepless nights. Tired of trekking 10 kilometers just to charge a phone. Tired of hearing that electrification would arrive. Next year, next term, next administration. So he decided to stop waiting. What Aruna did was deceptively simple. He started asking questions no one around him had dared to ask. Why does electricity need to come from the city? Why does it have to be expensive? What if we stopped calling ourselves poor and started calling ourselves resourceful? He found a broken solar lamp in the trash, took it apart, learned its insides like someone learning a new language, then another, then an old battery, then a friend who'd once worked as a mechanic. By the time others noticed what he was doing, Aruna had already lit 5 homes on his street, with nothing but discarded panels, reused phone batteries, and wires he pulled from junked radios. There was no ceremony, no announcement, just light, suddenly, quietly, where there had only been darkness. That moment rippled. People who'd once dismissed him as crazy now brought him tools, broken gadgets, even unused roof tiles. He wasn't the madman with wires anymore. He became the one who brought power. And in a place where promises had always come from outside, that shift, from outsider dependence to internal action, was nothing short of revolutionary. There's always a moment when hope becomes urgency. For Aruna, it came on a night soaked in rain and silence. His cousin's son, just 6 years old, fell ill with a high fever. The local clinic was closed. The only vehicle in the area had a dead battery. The health worker's flashlight had died hours earlier. They waited until dawn to walk the child to the district hospital. He didn't make it. No war, no natural disaster, just the absence of light. That night, Aruna didn't sleep. He sat by his door, staring into the black void that covered his village. He remembered every politician who had promised change, every NGO truck that had come and gone, and he realized something chilling. No one was coming back. That was the moment electricity stopped being about convenience and became about life itself. From then on, Aruna became relentless. He organized meetings, at first just a few curious neighbors, sitting on stools under a tree. He drew circuits in the dirt, borrowed a cracked tablet from a schoolteacher to show how energy storage worked. He taught himself to test lithium-ion cells with nothing but a multimeter and a cheap soldering iron. He studied sunrise angles, measured battery output with a hand-built voltmeter. He started logging data on when appliances failed, what caused outages, and how many hours of sun it took to charge a typical setup. His goal wasn't just to bring light. It was to never lose another child to something so painfully preventable. Now, let me ask you something. If it takes losing a child to fix something this broken, what does that say about how we prioritize progress? And more importantly, how many communities are silently enduring tragedies like this, simply because no one handed them the blueprint? Maybe they don't need blueprints. Maybe they just need someone like Aruna, who says, if the system won't come to us, we'll build our own. And if that hits you somewhere deep, you know what to do. Comment, share, keep this story alive. Because the people who change the world aren't always the ones who are funded. They're the ones who are fed up. What Aruna built wasn't flashy. It wasn't futuristic. It wasn't featured in tech expos or praised by clean energy think tanks. It was something better. It worked. And it worked not because it followed conventional wisdom, but because it broke from it entirely. Most energy projects in rural Africa start with external audits, feasibility studies, international contractors, and costly infrastructure. They require roads. They require fuel. They require time. Aruna started with trash, old solar panels that donors had written off, batteries from busted electronics, wires stripped from abandoned radios. No budgets, no bureaucrats, just local hands, local knowledge, and local urgency. The first prototype was simple. 2 small solar panels strapped to the roof with used bicycle spokes, a salvaged battery bank made from discarded laptop cells, and LED lights hung from plastic bottles sliced in half. It powered one room, but that one room changed everything. It became a gathering place. Kids came to study, adults came to charge phones. And that sparked a thought. If this works here, why not house by house? So they scaled it, not by waiting for scale, but by repetition. 1 roof, then 10, then 20. Every system was built from scratch, optimized by need, maintained by the person who used it. There was no central control, no fragile grid, no single point of failure. If one house went dark, the rest kept shining. The real genius wasn't in the wires. It was in the philosophy. Build what's needed with what's available and teach others how to do the same. And that idea, that radically local, low-tech, low-cost model, is now being studied by people who once thought real energy only came from state-owned utilities. So let me pose this to you. If a solution built from trash can power a village sustainably, what does that say about the systems built from trillions that still fail? You might be wondering, how exactly does this work? Let's break it down, not as engineers, but as people trying to understand how one village lit itself up without permission. Each home in the system uses solar panels, typically secondhand, rated between 20 to 80 watts, depending on size and roof strength. A DIY charge controller, either locally built from recycled parts or reconfigured from existing devices. Battery banks, often composed of 18650 lithium-ion cells, salvaged, tested, and rebuilt into functioning packs. Simple wiring, carefully insulated, using plastic sheaths from discarded appliances. LED bulbs and USB ports, chosen for ultra-low power consumption. No two homes have identical setups. Each system is customized. Some prioritize lighting, others refrigeration, others device charging. Energy is rationed based on what the family truly needs, not what a utility assumes they might. The teams learned through trial and error. Panels needed to face the northwest to capture late-day sun. Battery cells had to be tested individually, because even one weak cell could crash the system. Certain homes needed voltage boosters to support small fans or low-watt TVs. And then came the software. Aruna's nephew, age 17, hacked together a basic energy monitor using a Raspberry Pi clone and a salvaged screen from a broken tablet. Now, some homes can even track their solar input and usage in real time. This is not guesswork. It's a living, evolving infrastructure, crafted not in labs, but in kitchens, in courtyards, in conversations. And because it's decentralized, failure doesn't scale. If one battery dies, one house goes dim, not the entire block. If a component fails, someone within walking distance can fix it without needing to call anyone outside the community. It's resilient by design, transparent by necessity, and local by conviction. This isn't just a technical system. It's a social contract, one where power literally belongs to the people. So again, I'll ask, why is the world still pushing fragile, centralized grids into places that need autonomy more than scale? And if you've read this far, you already know the answer. Because most systems aren't designed to empower. They're designed to control. This village chose differently, and now they control their power in every sense of the word. Electricity changes everything, not just how people live, but how they see themselves. Before Aruna's project, nights in the village were short. When the sun set, life slowed to a crawl. Shops shut early. Children stopped reading. Conversations ended with darkness. People went to bed not because they were tired, but because they had no other choice. Now things are different. Evening classes are held under solar-powered lights. Children help each other with homework hours after sunset. There's a small youth club that meets once a week to practice English using a donated tablet, charged entirely from rooftop solar. And at the local clinic, something unheard of has happened. Babies are being delivered at night under clean, steady light. No more flickering candles, no more cell phone flashlights held between a nurse's teeth. They've even begun storing basic vaccines in a solar-powered cooler, a first for the village. And there's another layer to this. Social confidence. Women who once stayed indoors after dark now walk safely through lit pathways. Elders gather in the evenings to talk, debate, even play music, because the night no longer belongs to fear. One elder put it this way: "We used to be at the mercy of the sun. Now we choose when our day ends." That's not just access. That's agency. What's happening here isn't just infrastructure. It's restoration of control over time, space, and identity. And that ripple effect? It's real. In nearby villages, people are starting to ask new questions. Not, can we afford electricity, but why are we still in the dark when they are not? That shift, from envy to inquiry, is how movements start. Let me ask you, what's more powerful, installing a light bulb or reigniting a sense of possibility? When people think of solar, they think of light. But light is just the beginning. What Aruna's model created, without a single loan, grant, or corporate plan, is a functioning microeconomy powered entirely by sun and sweat. Here's how it works. A family installs a basic system. They can now charge phones, not just their own, but neighbors, for a few cents. They keep milk cool longer, store vegetables overnight. They run a blender in the morning to make fresh juices, something unheard of before. One woman sells solar-chilled hibiscus drinks at the weekly market. She earns in one afternoon what she used to make in 3 days. Another young man started fixing LED bulbs and power banks. He learned everything through Aruna's informal workshop and now travels to surrounding communities offering repair services, on foot, with a backpack toolkit. And then there's the teenage girl who set up a mini cinema. With a second-hand projector, a white bedsheet, and a solar battery combo. She screens old Nollywood movies twice a week. Entry: 100 CFA. Popcorn, extra. She's saving for nursing school. None of this was possible before. Not just because of electricity, but because of ownership. There are no middlemen, no electric company taking a cut. Every watt of power flows directly into productivity and stays there. It's not just local energy, it's local circulation. This kind of circular economy isn't new to economists, but what's new is that it's emerging organically, from the ground up, with no external push. Compare that to the typical model. Import fuel, pay foreign consultants, build infrastructure, hope people can afford it. Here, people built what they could afford and then used it to earn more. So ask yourself, if this is what grassroots energy can do in one small community, what could it do for a region, a country? And if we're not scaling this, what exactly are we scaling? If you think this economic model deserves attention, don't let it stop here. Comment, amplify, share. Because sometimes the most sustainable business plan starts with a light bulb and a bit of defiance. You'd think something like this would go unnoticed. Just another poor village making do with scraps, right? That's exactly what the world thought, until the lights didn't go out. When the national grid failed during a storm, nearby towns went dark for 72 hours. But this village? Lit, calm, functioning, phones charged, clinics running, water pumps working. People started asking, how is that possible? Engineers from the utility company visited. They expected to find illegal tapping, or maybe a hidden diesel generator. Instead, they found children repairing charge controllers and grandmothers explaining battery chemistry. Word spread like fire. Within months, journalists, researchers, even politicians were showing up. But here's the twist. It wasn't just African countries sending observers. A municipal energy advisor from Spain came to learn how the microgrid worked. A delegation from South Korea asked to pilot the model in off-grid mountain villages, and a Northern European Climate Fund offered support, but with conditions. Aruna declined. His answer was sharp and unforgettable. If we accept your money, we accept your control, and we've already proven we don't need either. That moment cracked something open, because it wasn't just a technological story anymore, it was political. It forced an uncomfortable question into the global development space. What if the people we've been trying to help for decades have already solved problems we're still debating? What if the world's next big leap doesn't come from corporate labs, but from backyard inventions, from places without funding, but with fire? What if the true global South is no longer the student, but the teacher? And if that unsettles you, good, because every great shift starts with discomfort. Let's call this what it is. A quiet revolution with solar panels for swords. No billboards, no speeches, just homes lighting up without permission. What started as survival became resilience. What became resilience turned into innovation. And now, it's becoming a philosophy. Build with what you have, share what you learn, own what you create. Because power, real power, doesn't come from ownership of technology. It comes from freedom from dependence. Aruna didn't just light homes. He lit a fire under a global lie. That poor communities must wait for the rich to save them. That innovation only lives in wealthy zip codes. That development flows one direction, north to south, west to east. No, this is south to south, street to street, roof to roof. This is development that doesn't ask for permission. So here's what you can do. Don't just feel inspired. That's passive. Ask different questions. Why aren't we funding ideas like this at scale? Why are billion-dollar energy projects still failing while battery packs made from e-waste are saving lives? Who really defines what advanced means anymore? And most importantly, what would happen if we stopped seeing villages like Aruna's as exceptions and started seeing them as examples? Because maybe the future isn't something we export. Maybe it's something we finally notice.